Welcome, Kellogg community. I'm Michaela Doyle with the Kellogg School of Management. Thank you for joining us today for Conversations with Kellogg Leaders featuring Akira Kokubu. In this webinar series, Dean Corneli speaks with Kellogg alumni leaders on timely issues and challenges facing the global business community. You can catch up on our prior webinars in this series at our virtual events page on the Kellogg alumni website. We will put a link to that site into the chat now. And with that, I am happy to welcome Dean Francesca Corneli.
Hello, everyone. Here in the US is Valentine's Day, so I'm sending extra love to everybody connected. And I am so delighted to have another amazing speaker. You know, part of the privilege of serving as a Dean of Kellogg is to be part of a network global of leaders who really have an impact on the world. And this series is really helping us to showcase what amazing alumni we have globally that lead a global company. And therefore, it is my pleasure today to welcome Akira Kokubu for our conversation. Since 2017, he served as president and CEO for Kokubu Corporation. It's a more than 300 years old company. That is an amazing accomplishment, and he spent a lot of his career time in the company. And he will describe his professional journey in the food and beverage industry and all his knowledge and other things. So, Akira, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me to conversation with Kellogg Leaders. I think this opportunity came from an event dated back in June 2022. Mr. Emmanuel, current U.S. ambassador to Japan and the former mayor of Chicago, and also Northwestern graduate, hosted a farewell party at the embassy of U.S. in Japan for the former president of Northwestern University, Mr. Moto Shapiro. And during the reception, I had the opportunity to meet with Miss Julie Allen of Kellogg Alumni, Kellogg Alumni Relations, and could have a few words with her about this discussion. Thank you again to Julie and Lisa and the members from the university who helped us to have this wonderful event.
Yeah, that's right. That was an amazing event in Japan that shows the power of Northwestern and its influence. Yes. So, but, you know, so that's great. And that started a conversation that we can continue today virtually. Thank you so much. And let me start from the beginning, right? I mean, we at Kellogg study a lot family businesses. And what I hear usually is the difficulty here is to arrive to pass the third generation. Now, you are a member of the 12th generation successful Japanese family in the food and beverage business, which is amazing, 12th generation. So what was it like to grow up as a member of such a successful 12th generation Japanese family?
Okay, actually, I'm the 13th generation.
Okay.
Okay, so I knew that my father's company is a private company, and someday I'll be inheriting the business. So, however, I had no sense of reality, what it would be like to be the next CEO. However, there was one event that struck me with a real meaning that I'll be inheriting Kokubu. This was when my grandfather, who was the 11th generation, passed away, and I was a university sophomore back then. The funeral took place at the Tsukiji Honganji, Japanese traditional temple, and I lined up holding a portrait of my grandfather. Seeing over 2,000 people gathered to pay their respect to my grandfather, I realized how big Kokubu is to the wholesale industry in Japan. It was then that I strongly realized that my father will be the 12th generation and eventually I'll inherit his position. I have never discussed deeply about Kokubu's business with my grandfather nor with my father. I first visited the headquarters of Kokubu when I was going to elementary school. My grandfather took me there before going to watch sumo wrestling. My father, the 12th generation, told me that I must have 5 years experience outside of Kokubu after graduating university. I know, I now realize that the 5 years were given to me because of us in the 11th generation.
That's amazing. So you were saying you didn't discuss the business specific Kokubu, but was there a lot of discussion about business at home in general?
So I was thinking deeply about how to use the 5 years given to me because before joining Kokubu, I thought I had to learn business while getting an MBA in US. So while I was preparing for an MBA, I was job hunting at the same time. And my father learned business at Ajinomoto, a major Japanese food supplier, before joining Kokubu. Since I wanted to learn the business of food manufacturing, I studied many companies in the industry, and I chose Nestle because they are a giant global company. Nestle is a company that almost everyone on the planet knows. So I thought that work experience at Nestle would require no explanation to anyone. So fortunately, I was able to join Nestle after a few interviews. So may I
That's please.
Oh, okay. So at the same time, I was also applying to university to obtain an MBA. So I was accepted to NYU with a condition that I'll be admitted after 2 years with Nestle. So after graduating from Keio University in 1994, I joined Nestle Japan and was assigned to the Osaka branch. And at the same time, I moved my home to Ashia, Hyogo, where I was struck by the great Hanshin Awaji earthquake in January 1995. This earthquake hit Osaka and Kobe, the second largest city after Tokyo. 6,400 lives were lost and over 100,000 houses were destroyed. Since Nestle Japan's headquarters was severely damaged and it would take for time for the Osaka Kobe area to recover, so I was transferred to the marketing office in Tokyo. So there I was in charge of marketing for Milo and ready-to-drink products. So Chris Johnson, my superior at the time, was UCLA MBA holder, and he later became executive vice president of Nestle worldwide. I had a conditional offer to attend NYU after 2 years of corporate work experience. So I asked Chris Johnson to write a letter of recommendation from Nestle to prepare for my admission. New York University is one of the most prestigious, highly regarded universities in the world in the field of finance. But I thought that knowledge of marketing was more relevant for doing business in wholesaling. Before deciding to enroll at NYU, I took a test at a Kellogg school, which is highly regarded for marketing. and was fortunate enough to be accepted. That's the story. I really long.
We are very happy. And were there specific Kellogg classes or professor that inspired you?
Okay, I still remember the organizational change class taught by Professor Duncan. This class was a special spring curriculum in which students studied the rise and fall of organizations. For my thesis for that class, I compiled a paper on the history of Kokubu. Since 1712, the company faced three crises of corporate survival: the Meiji Restoration, the Great Kanto earthquake, and World War II. I looked into the history of Kokubu with two questions. First, what kind of corporate culture was in effect at the major turning points of those eras? And second, what were the decisive factors in the survival of the company in each of those instances? In each case, I delved into the corporate activities that revitalized the business from zero and overcome the difficulties and wrote a research paper. I was unable to get through the lottery for the popular class of Professor Kotras, but I was in the back of the classroom observing the class. The marketing channel class by Professor Stan and the finance class by Professor Peterson were also very inspiring. I was delighted to see Professor Peterson again when I visited the university last June for a meeting prior to this discussion. When I studied there in mid-1990s, e-commerce was still in its infancy, and it was interesting to learn about the company's strategy in a case study of Amazon's Jeff Bezos in the internet marketing class. And the family business class are now well established at the Kellogg School, but at the time there was no curriculum as a class, and volunteers gathered as a family business club to exchange ideas actively. I became friends with Mr. DJ Sankar of Sama Group, an Indian family business company, and had various and meaningful discussions. Miss Stephanie Gallo of Gallo Winery of the United States was also in the club.
That's amazing. That's amazing recollection. And Stephanie Gallo is also on our board now. So yeah, an amazing network of alumni in that business, which is great. Now, what aspects of business education at Kellogg did you like the most?
Okay, many of the classes at the Kellogg School were group studies. The financial decisions class was an in-depth finance case study program with a team of 6 students. The team was a mixed international team made up of students from all over the world. Yeah. The team discussed with multinational students from Russia, Peru, and other countries. I could learn the importance of diversity through discussion. In global initiatives in management, where students learn about global perspectives, I teamed up with colleagues from the United States, Italy, and Kenya to explore the possibility of selling paper made from Costa Rican organic banana peels to the United States market. At New Venture Formulation, I teamed up with classmates from Spain to create a project to establish a Spanish wine exporting company. We selected the Marques de Vargas label. The Kokubu Group later became the distributor in the Japanese market. The wines are very well acknowledged in Japan, Japanese market and are still popular today as highly quality, well-balanced wines.
What an amazing array of different experiences. You make us feel proud. And for those listening, it's still true. There's still all these things. Now, early in your career, you worked at Nestlé Japan. And as you consider joining the family business, what kind of contributions did you feel you could make that would be important or meaningful?
While I was still at Kellogg, I had an 8-week summer internship at Nestle USA. At the time, the Nestle US division was headquartered in Glendale, Los Angeles, and I was a part of a team that developed a plan to market Nestle US products to the rest of the world. The team leader was Mr. Frank Sephora. I often played golf with him. Since that time, we had serious discussions about how to improve the world through business management that incorporated the concept of SDGs. I'm very grateful to Nestle Japan. Being involved in the food business at the world #1 global manufacturer and learning Nestle's marketing practices under Mr. Chris Johnson was very helpful. The experience helped me in Kokubu's international business of exporting Japanese food products to the world.
That's amazing. And, I'm very curious about the next question because I don't know much. I understand that Kokubu started business as a soy sauce brewer in 1712. Can you describe the role of fermentation as a traditional method of food processing and preservation in Japan?
Okay. First, please allow me to introduce the Kokubu company and our history.
Yes.
Okay. Kokubu was founded in 1712, the middle of the Edo era. We overcome many hardships during the changes of times. We have our headquarters at the prime address in Nihonbashi, but originally the family was a merchant based in Masuzaka City, which is famous for Masuzaka beef in Mie Prefecture. In 1712, Kanbei Kokubu Force decided to go to Edo, which is now Tokyo, and started by brewing soy sauce in Tsuchiura City in Ibaraki Prefecture. We shipped the barrels of soy sauce by boat to Edo and unloaded them here in Nihonbashi and sold them in small portions. Counting from Kanbei Kokubu Force, my father has succeeded the name of the 12th Kanbei Kokubu as the chairman and CEO. And in 2024, we have been in business for 312 years. Brewing and selling soy sauce was our main business for approximately 150 years until the end of the Edo era. But the time of the Meiji Restoration in 1868, when feudalism and the shogunate system ended and modernization and industrialization began, the payments from the feudal lords for the soy sauce we officially supplied were almost completely nullified. The brewing of soy sauce into, and so we were forced to transform our business. That's when we made a major change in direction to our current main business of food and liquor wholesaling. And next, I'd like to mention the background of choosing wholesaling. Brewing soy sauce is a type of business that freezes working capital for a long period of time, from preparing for production to making the sale and collecting payment. On the other hand, wholesaling is a business model that can generate working capital while doing business by quickly turning payables and receivables. So in order to adapt to the time, which was going through a major transformation, we saw a future in wholesaling, which can generate cash instead of freezing it like brewing. In the 20th century, we were hit with major calamities and changes such as the Great Kanto earthquake, in which 105,000 people died in 1923, and the end of the Pacific War in 1945. Our company's head office was entirely lost by fire of the Great Kanto earthquake, and also our headquarter office was seized by General MacArthur of GHQ after the war. In each era, we lost almost our entire assets. But for instance, Mr. Shinjiro Tori, the founder of Suntory, after receiving our payment for goods after the earthquake, he turned around and contributed the entire amount back to us as restoration money. So we had various support from people around us, and we were able to continue the wholesaling business after the war. And now, our sales for period ending December 2023 is over 2 trillion yen, which is about $13.5 billion with over 5,000 employees. Regarding fermentation, miso or soy paste, soy sauce, vinegar, brewing, which is sweet cooking rice wine, and sake are all fermented foods used in Japanese cuisine. It is a food culture unique to Japan that takes advantage of the country's warm and humid climate. Soy sauce, which was the starting point for Kokubu's business, is a fermented food made from koji or malted rice. A fermentation technology was established as a preservation technique in an era when refrigeration technology was not available. The appeal of fermentation is that it brings out the flavor of the ingredients. In the process of fermentation, functional and health qualities are produced. Not only does it taste good, but it's also healthy, which is one of the reasons why Japanese food is so popular overseas.
That is an amazing story. And also, how do you survive for 13 generations by even in the middle of adversity? Exactly. And now, with so much history, you arrive to today when Japan plays a leading role in food science. It's a global center for research in how we detect taste and flavors and leads development of key ingredients such as sweeteners. It's amazing what is happening in Japan. So how does Japan's innovative food culture impact business at Kokubu?
Okay, since Kokubu is a wholesaling company, so we do not have a division specialized for innovative food technology. However, we are aggressive on business in creating products with food tech-based ingredients. For example, we formed a capital and a business alliance with a company called Deeds Food Planning in 2021. The company is expanding its sales channels by producing a variety of plant-based foods from okara, soybean curd, and deeds made from konjac, solidified jelly made from konjac yam. We also formed a capital and business alliance with Zerokara, which owns high-speed freezing technology. Freezing fish, fresh food and cooked food using the technology enables to lengthen the shortage storage period. We expect that introducing new technologies to our distribution platform will contribute to decrease in food loss or efficiency in food supply chain.
That's amazing. So, and in addition to innovation, the food industry also responds to food trends. Like in the US, food trends include things like low carb or the so-called clean label ingredients. How do you anticipate and respond to food trends at Kokubu?
In food distribution in Japan, it is important to understand food trends and apply them to business. Our marketing department researches the needs of consumers and strives to understand what is popular now and what will be popular in the future, as well as changes in lifestyles. We operate a consumer food information portal called Groupa and conduct regular surveys and monitoring of consumers. With Japan's declining birth rate and aging population, consumers are becoming increasingly interested in healthcare. Health and food are very closely related, and more people are becoming health food conscious. We also entered into a business alliance with a pharmaceutical wholesaler in 2007 and are promoting initiatives related to healthcare. We are also focusing on products in the sustainable category in the worldwide trend toward SDGs. Our SDG statement includes the following words: we will continue our 300-year-long business tradition to the next generation. We will create happiness and smiles for people around the world through food. By combining this statement with our corporate philosophy, we are reiterating our corporate stance both inside and outside the company. In particular, as a wholesaler, we have defined our own definition of the sustainable category in selling sustainable food products. We have established our own criteria for foods that have a low environmental impact and are highly sustainable and have positioned products that meet these criteria as a sustainable category. We are working to expand sales of products that meet this definition.
That's amazing. And okay, I have to ask you also something because I love Japanese food. So my next question is Japan's unique regional food culture and cuisine still an inspiration for the business today? Are there delicious food that the rest of the world has not yet discovered? I need to know.
Okay, that's very good question. So, you know that in 2013, Japanese food was registered as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. The land of Japan is long from north to south and has 4 distinctive seasons. The area is surrounded by the ocean and fresh seafood is readily available, which has made the custom to eating fish raw, eating sashimi and sushi. Japan has a diverse food culture rooted in its rich climate, people's spirituality, and history, while skillfully incorporating the cultures of other countries. Japanese culinary culture is characterized by the delicate beauty of its dishware, the beautiful presentation of its dishes, its hospitality, and its cooking techniques that accentuate the distinctive flavors. It is also gaining increasing attention around the world as a healthy food with excellent nutritional balance. We are utilizing our function as a community-based nationwide wholesaler to distribute superior delicious local foods throughout Japan and around the world. For example, tsukemono or Japanese pickles are a traditional Japanese food. Various foods are marinated with salt, vinegar, and sake leaves and other pickling ingredients, and then aged to enhance their flavor. Some types of tsukemono involve fermentation, such as lactic acid fermentation, which improves the preservation and taste. At Kokubu, we have developed original products such as iburigakko cheese and the narazuke cheese sandwich, which combine these traditional ingredients with cheese and have received high praise. Another product developed by our company is kantsuma, This is Kantsuma,
Ah,
which is popular in Japan as a series of premium canned foods that is specifically targeted to be consumed with alcoholic beverages. Tsuma is short for tsumami, which means bar snacks.
that's
Sake,
amazing.
okay, and one more thing,
Yes.
sake. Sake. I have to mention sake. Sake made from rice has long been consumed in Japan. Over time, technological advances have led to the sake of today. There are more than 1,000 sake breweries throughout Japan, brewing sake with flavors that have long been adapted to Japanese cuisine. Like wine, sake has a completely different flavor depending on the type of rice used as the raw ingredient, as well as the malted rice and yeast used for fermentation. Each has its own unique flavor and supports Japanese food culture, but there must be sake brands that match well with foreign cuisine. As you can see, there are still many appealing local foods in Japan that are not yet well known. We hope to convey not only the food itself, but also its background and culture.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And although I would like to stay on the food, I really want to ask you a bit also about your business leadership. Now, what key challenges did you take on at Kokubu over the years that helped you advance to your current role?
Okay. The Great East Japan earthquake and the Fukushima nuclear power plant accident in 2011, by which
Mm,
22,000 people died, was a
yeah.
major event that reminded us of the role of the wholesale industry, which of course made advance in my leadership. On the day after the earthquake, we sent our products from Tokyo to the affected areas. Kokubu collected goods from all over Japan and sent them to the affected area despite fuel and vehicle shortages, working with many logistics providers and leveraging our commercial distribution channels. We used every warehouse that had survived the disaster to deliver products to various retail stores in the vital areas. These activities, which supported the utility of food, brought the public attention about the function of the wholesale industry. And the COVID-19 pandemic also reminded us that we in the food supply chain are essential workers. We established a BCP in order to continue delivery even if stock pickers in distribution centers or drivers are infected. For instance, we put in place various procedures such as dividing staff into small teams to prepare for emergencies so that if someone is infected in the distribution center, person in close contact will not spread the infection to the whole center. However, unlike medical professionals and retailers who are easy to get social acceptance to continue their work in emergency situations, workers that make deliveries are usually not visible to people in the general public. So when the state of emergency was issued sometime around May 2020, we fulfilled our responsibility with a strong sense of mission.
That's very interesting. You're right. Mission is so important. And you're right. You're in an industry that is so central. You can't stop. That's very inspiring. But let me ask you, what are some of the barriers to growth that Kokubu is facing today? Or what successes have you had as the company expands?
The big threat for our business is the declining population. So it is estimated that Japan's population will decline from 126 million today to 87 million by 2070. In the past, we have rewarded our target customers to be businesses that procure and sell food. In our current management plan, we have further expanded the scope to include the entire food value chain from primary producers to the general public in order to achieve food value creation. Currently, we are also collaborating with farmers and focusing on product development centered on the consumer series of canned cake. This is our brand of canned foods, as well as producing ready-to-eat foods at our group company. In addition, we are also involved in almost the entire food supply chain, such as being commissioned by a major retailer to operate their fresh foods processing center. The range of products we handle is extremely broad, with more than 10,000 suppliers, 600,000 stock keeping units, and more than 30,000 customers, including convenience stores, GMS chains, local liquor stores, e-commerce businesses, and eating establishments. We are advocating what we call a community-based nationwide wholesaling. Japan has developed unique food cultures that are closely tied to each region, and so it is necessary to understand the characteristics of each region. While national wholesalers are often seen as being unable to conduct business activities that are rooted in the local communities, we take pride in the fact that we are able to conduct activities that are closely connected to local communities while targeting the entire country. Under this policy, we have established 7 area companies in each region to carry out full-line function activities. Given our commitment to community-based nationwide wholesaling, we recognize that promoting local revitalization is an important role for us. In the current long-term plan, we have introduced the concept of a co-creation ecosystem. We believe that innovation in the food value chain is more attainable when not only the company works alone, but when various partner companies cooperate and utilize each other's strengths, and that it is important to co-create with a wide range of partners. We are not concerned with the accounting consolidation. Our interest is not in controlling the supply chain through acquisition, although we may invest when necessary, but rather our priority is in innovation through a common vision based on the philosophy of co-creation. We are able to have this thinking because we are not a publicly listed company, and we can engage in various challenges freely by being a private company. Currently, there are various funds being formed, not limited to foods, but the investors in these funds are obviously looking for exit, return on investment. In contrast, our basic premise as a wholesaler is sharing a fair portion of the profits of the food value chain in the actual business of commerce and logistics. We do not control the supply chain, nor do we buy or sell equity. We want to give form to the spirit of co-creation.
That is amazing to hear. I love when I hear from Kellogg alumni and the spirit of cooperation and impact comes through. And therefore, what you're doing is really amazing and inspiring. Now, let me ask you a slightly different question, which is, I know you have moved into China. So can you describe the decision-making behind Kokubu's move into China? How important are partnerships to success in China today? And do you have any concern that political change in the country could impact your growth there?
As I mentioned earlier, with Japan's declining population, we cannot grow if we are purely domestic. Our overseas business consists of three pillars: the trading business, China business, and the ASEAN business. So China has been a major part of our overseas business since 2010. We have established local wholesale companies and built our own logistic network. In 2022, we concluded a capital and business alliance agreement with a local food wholesaler with strong e-commerce capabilities in China. Of course, there are many difficulties, and we are making extraordinary efforts. Abroad, you cannot expect to sell just by holding a Japanese food exhibition. You must get deeply involved in the actual business and engage in serious negotiations. A political change is something that is nearly impossible to predict or control. Your guess is as good as mine. So the only thing we can do is to be vigilant and nimble.
Absolutely. And so what other regions would you like to see Kokubu operate in or trade within the future? I know you'll enter Africa. What are you learning from your entry there? And also, how do you assess consumer culture and demand in developing countries versus developed ones?
So we are aiming to expand the number of countries we export to from 60 to 70 countries by 2025.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. The trading business is showing growth every year. While there may be regional variations due to unexpected incidents such as the Ukrainian crisis, we have consistently maintained double-digit growth, and we expect this trend to continue. But it is too early to assess our business in Africa since we only started in 2022. However, our concept of co-creation ecosystem is consistent in our overseas business as well. We will not expand just for the sake of expansion. We will need to find partners where we can share the same vision, cooperate, leverage each other's strengths, and mutually grow. We will also need to work harmoniously with local governments and communities to create a new food lifestyle where Japanese food can blend in with the local culture and people's taste.
That's so interesting. And let me come back to before you were mentioning how Kokubu has been able, as a family company, to focus on charities and impact. I want to come back to that, which is so amazing. So what is the company culture like today and Kokubu? And how does it relate to the history of the company? And exactly as you were saying, right, the family run, being family run, does it give you flexibility to pursue goals such as making food products more sustainable?
Okay. Regarding company culture, I have to mention about Chomoku. Kokubu's Chomoks, or code of conduct in the past, already incorporated the principles of SDGs.
Oh.
When we considered whether we should create some kind of statement in response to the current requirement for a broad response to SDGs, including environmental issues, we affirmed that the SDGs philosophy of today was actually already woven into the Chomok, which describes the company's credo and code of conduct of each era since the company's foundation in 1712. In Japan, the era changes when the emperor changes. Since our foundation, the era has changed 26 times, with the most recent eras being Heisei, which started in 1980, and Reiwa, which started in 2019. The Chomok of Heisei, which was written during the period of Kanbei Kokubu 12th, is nearly identical to the essence of what is required by SDGs. We created our SDGs statement in September 2020 by updating the Chomok of Heisei within the framework of SDGs So this can be positioned as the Chomoku of Reiwa. I believe that companies with a long history have already incorporated and implemented the philosophies that are consistent with the SDGs. So by looking back at the past, we have elevated it to a statement for today. It was a good opportunity for us to sort out through within the global trends toward SDGs. It says in a statement, we will pass on the business we have built over 300 years to the next generation. We will create happiness and smiles for everyone across the globe through food. By combining this statement with the subheading of our corporate philosophy, we have made our stance as a company clear to both inside and the company and out. Particularly from a wholesaler's perspective, we have proposed our own definition of a sustainable category to promote the sale of sustainable food products. We are also working to expand the sales of products that are in line with this definition. I believe if consumers understand these kinds of efforts by businesses, the world will move in a more sustainable direction. Environmentally friendly products tend to be more expensive. So the question is how much more consumers are willing to accept. According to our study, consumers are willing to pay 1.3 times the average price for environmentally friendly products. If consumer needs more oriented toward SDGs, product will be developed and displayed accordingly. So it will be ideal if it starts with the trend towards categorized product.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And, given that you're 13th generation, what is your relationship with the future generation of Kokubu leaders? And do you feel that being a mentor is an important part of your job today?
Our major theme is how to develop the next generation of leaders. We have a program called K-College or Kokubu College for people who just became people managers. It is a one-year program where they learn various knowledges and skills in classroom environment for the first 6 months. And for the next 6 months, they engage in workshops to tackle real challenges that the company is facing. This is all while doing their everyday work. We have also learned that the more people who have found their personal goal that have a high degree of alignment with the Kokubu stance, the higher their level of happiness at work. And as we all know, happy people are more productive. Therefore, we hold workshops with all employees to identify the overlap between their personal goals and the Kokubu stance, which consists of the company creed, corporate philosophy, and the Kokubu way. More than 2,000 employees, including part-timers, have already attended the workshop. In addition, a video was created in which the presidents of group companies talk about the Kokubu stance and efforts to improve happiness in their own words, promoting understanding and sympathy for Kokubu stance. We conduct a happiness at work survey for our employees every May. The survey conducted last May showed a significant improvement from a previous year in the level of employees' happiness at work. The company is creating a rewarding work environment, and the employees are actively working toward their aspirations, which is improving their happiness in both directions.
That is amazing. And, leadership is so important at Kellogg. It's really great to hear the focus you have on that and creating future leaders. I'm afraid the time is going very fast. So I have one more question for you, and it flew the time. Now, the question is, how do you stay connected with Kellogg? Are you in touch with classmates online or in person? You mentioned some. Do you recommend young professionals in Japan consider going to Kellogg? Please, please.
Okay. I have keep in touch with my Japanese alumni, and we exchange information on business models. My 2 years at the Kellogg School has been a wonderful experience. I would recommend it to all those who aspire to improve their business skills. And we live in a time when the nature of our careers is being questioned. Digital transformation is becoming more and more common, and the way of career advancement are becoming more diverse. And we are now in an era of more flexible careers. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I completely agree with you, and I love hearing you saying that, because that's exactly what we try to communicate at Kellogg. That's what we want to promote. So, this has been such an inspiring conversation, hearing about your amazing company and how thoughtful it is, the focus on the culture, the focus on constant innovation. I guess that's the message. How do you survive a more than 300 years teen generation when there is attention to all these aspects and resilience in so many challenges you faced these days? It has been such a pleasure talking to you, and I hope everybody's heard and will hear your conversation, will be inspired by it. You are a true Kellogg alum, and I am so proud that we can claim you as an alum. Thank you for all everybody's who have been listening. It's been a great conversation. So have a wonderful rest of the day, whether it's like for me, a long day still to go or a short day almost finished. I hope you enjoyed. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you.